not locked in here with you. That's it! You're locked in here with me!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Real Estate Realities with the Rebel Broker. My name's Robert Wailai, and I am the Rebel Broker. Licensed real estate broker in the state of California. Member of the National Association of Realtors. But please, don't hold that against me. Thanks again for tuning in. Well, tuning is a bad word, right? Downloading? Thanks again for downloading, everyone. Sharing your valuable time with me. We have updates to share. A cornucopia for all. Sort of. As promised, I did upload the video to YouTube. The one we're talking about is my 2020 How to Search for Properties video. So head on over to the YouTube channel to find that. If you just go to YouTube and type in Rebel Broker, I ought to pop right up. I ought to just be right there. You'll see my smiling mug right there. That same goofy photo I've been using for, I don't even know how long. I need new photos. I haven't gotten any prettier, though, so that's the problem. The prettier you are, the better off you are, right? So I think that's a great tool for folks to start off. Man, has so much changed since the last time I did a video on that. For those of you who've been listening for a while, you know that Trulia used to be my go-to with some very good reasons, and it is no longer. I discussed that a little bit in the video, so if you want to take a look at that. But it's a great, I did a screen capture of what I was actually doing, showed you the stuff that I was going through, the hoops I was jumping through. And my goal here is not for you to know how to search the market I was searching, but to apply this strategy to anything. And because I am a giver, today's show is going to be on the top 10 communities, according to Realtor magazine, that you should be investing in 2020. Quote, when identifying the top 31 cities, we looked for a positive return on investment and high growth numbers across all data points. Researchers also factored in employment and population growth increase in home values and rental yield when identifying the top places for rental investments. And then here's the top 10. Now, what they're getting this data from a company called TurboTenant. And my intention here is for us to run down these top 10, and I want to make a challenge to you. For those of you who are just getting, maybe for some of you, this is old hat, right? You've been investing for years, and you tune in to me so that you can laugh at me and yell at your iPod or your iPhone or your Android or whatever it is you're listening to me on, and tell me and argue with me invisibly, right? It's better than yelling, I guess, at other drivers on the road about how wrong I am and how your years of experience have taken you down a different path. For those of you who aren't in that position, who are really trying to just get to know this stuff, see which one of these communities sounds interesting to you. Maybe it's close to you. Maybe you're only a relatively short drive away from here, and it's within your comfort zone for whatever reason. Who knows what that comfort zone might be. Go through and run through a few exercises and promise yourself that once a week you will sit down and find one property that sounds like a really good investment. You'll note that property. You'll write it down. You'll write down the address. You'll write down your conclusions, and you'll keep track of that property. Make it a favorite. Heart that thing on Realtor.com or wherever you feel like tracking it. And then at some point, it's going to go off the market. And the great news is, on most of these sites, you'll be able to look at the history and see what it sold for. You might have to wait. Obviously, escrow will have to close before that number gets posted. Excuse me. But then you can go back to the data for that page. I know for sure Zillow does it. I'll be honest. I don't tend to use Realtor.com for that info, but I'm willing to bet it's up there. And also, to be honest, I use a different view in Realtor. Now, the view that I used in the video is absolutely the everybody can get access to it, but there's also a magical, I'm a real estate agent view on Realtor.com. So I know I get it there, but I since I don't want to assume anything I always see when I use Realtor.com is stuff you see. So I don't want to lead you down the wrong path. So if you go to Realtor.com and you want to see what something sold for last time, you know what? Let me answer this question right now. There is no reason for me not to answer this question. Let's go to any place in the freaking country. Now, of course, actually, you know what? Let's just do my house, because obviously this is just going to show me things that are currently listed, which is fine too. Let's see what it says about my place. There it is. Bam. Does it say what I paid for this place? History. Yeah, here we go. Property. Yeah. It shows the day I bought it and everything. So cool. And this is not the real estate agent only section. So there we go. That was some compelling audio right there. Listen to me clack away at my super loud keyboard. Okay, so the goal here is go and take a look at that video. See how you feel about it. Maybe you're an old hand at this, and maybe I'll bring up some things you hadn't thought about. Always a possibility, right? Stranger things have happened. Maybe you're brand spanking new to this, and I'll argue that one of the most valuable and most worth your time to develop skills is the ability to do this kind of a search to find a property. So today's show is a great kickoff point for you. We're not only letting you know to go to YouTube, do a search on Rebel Broker, and find my most recent video. It won't be my most recent once you hear this. Obviously, this show will be the most recent post to YouTube, but it'll be one post older, right? It'll be a post from Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. So go and check it out and see if you don't learn a thing or two. If you generate any questions from watching the video, happy to answer them. Feel free to probably the smartest place so everyone benefits from your questions, is just comment. If you like the video, do the whole YouTube like and subscribe thing. That would profoundly help me, and I always appreciate the help I get from my listeners. You guys are awesome. And let's go ahead and exercise these skills. Now, something I'm thinking about doing is whenever I do one of these, now that I've kind of ironed out the tech related to doing what I'm going to do on the YouTube thing, I'm going to go ahead, I think, and on some sort of regular basis, do a deep dive into finding an investment property in these areas that we talk about. Now, you're also going to want to keep in mind that in some states, particularly Texas, which is a super desirable state, and that's one reason why I mentioned it, there are some states where it's not legal to put what the home sold for last in the website. So I'm not lying to you. If you're in Dallas and you're searching for Dallas properties and you go to Zillow or Realtor or Trulia or whatever, it's not going to tell you what property sold for. Now, my understanding from agents I've talked to in Texas is you can get that information. You just have to get it from a real estate agent. It's just not public information. So you're going to want to get into a relationship with a real estate agent in order to do the full Monty, as it were, on this stuff. So, all right, so let's jump in. We're going to do a couple of layers to this. Now, we're going to just take the basic data that they provide here, and all they really provide in terms of the hierarchy here is the increase in home values, the median sales price, and the average rent. And those are great numbers to start with, right? Because it'll also immediately tell you how high the barrier to entry is here. And I'll tell you something else. The homes, the cities that made this list, there are some awesome communities in here in terms of ridiculously low barrier to entry. In fact, there is not a single city on this list where the median sales price is over $300,000, right? In fact, a whole bunch of them are under 200. So for those of you who are looking on where to get started, now you may not be super jazzed about where these are. These tend to be clustered in a specific part of the country, and that's a thing. But it's a great opportunity for you to jump in, get them some things done at a much lower price point. It's always nice to not have to come up with as much money to make these things work. And from what I'm seeing, just the quick math I'm doing in my head, if we just take the median sales price and the average rent, right off those numbers, that works. Now, of course, we all know there is no average house and there is no average rent, right? There is only a house, what it will sell for and what it will rent for. So it's still a moving target, but I like it. I like the numbers I'm seeing. So let's go ahead and jump in. But before we do, I think what we'll do is we'll do that little tease thing that all those expert podcasters say you need to do. Is we'll do that after the quick break. But one thing that I also wanted to point out in today's show, because one thing we've always talked about is having some sort of a niche. Now, you don't want to be so niche that it makes it nearly impossible for you to find renters, right? But I'm all for things that increase your desirability and potentially give your properties an edge over other properties. And another article that comes from the National Association of Realtors, the headline is, "Fewer new homes have 4 or more bedrooms." Well, and that is an interesting trend, because if there are fewer homes with 4 or more bedrooms coming online, that means that if you currently own or get an opportunity to purchase a 4-bedroom home, that potentially, it should always carry more value, right? But there's a diminishing returns at a certain point. Typically, you're going to get a pretty decent boost from 3 to 4 bedrooms, but not the equivalent boost from 4 to 5 bedrooms, for instance, right? So, and you can do the math on this. You can work with your real estate agent, or you can do your own work on some of these websites we've talked about, and sort of get a feel for that. What are the differences here in terms of how much do you get for that 4-bedroom or that 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and what's the boost, right? If you have absolutely comparable properties in every way except for the number of bedrooms, how much more, right? What's the additional level of value that's brought both in the purchase price and in the rent? And if those two aren't in line enough, I mean, what I would see optimal is it costs me very little to acquire that 4-bedroom home, but I get a much bigger boost in the rent that I'm going to get, right? And one way to check that is to simply look for how many homes with 4 bedrooms or more are renting in that marketplace, right? Is there zero competition? Let me give you an example. In my community, there are almost no 4+ bedroom units available. There's no 4+ bedroom units available right now. If I were to list my home for rent right now, I would be the only property in Morgan Hill that has 4 or more bedrooms. That's my phone. And at moments like this, I think, well, should I just go back and edit that? Well, no. That's actually an interesting story. That particular tone, that particular ringtone has been my nemesis for a while. And maybe someday I'll do a show on why, because it specifically relates to real estate. Anyway, okay. So this is interesting. Fewer new homes that have 4 or more bedrooms. And this is, again, from National Association of Realtors. Quote, "The downsizing trend is occurring in new home construction, with the declining number of bedrooms in newly built homes a solid sign of the change. The U.S. Census Bureau's survey of construction data confirms that the number of bedrooms in the typical newly constructed single-family home is dropping. The number of new single-family homes that were started with 4 bedrooms or more dropped from 44.8% in 2017 to 43.5% in 2018, continuing a trend that has been occurring since 2015. So not a huge change, right? But it's a trend, and it's been going on since 2015. So in my mind, I think I would potentially be very interested if I can acquire a 4-bedroom. And in the world of renting, square footage is less important than number of bedrooms, right? Let's say you've got a 1,700 square foot 3-bedroom home and a 1,700 square foot 4-bedroom home. In terms of desirability, those are both, that 4-bedroom is probably going to make you more money, at least in my marketplace. There's always going to be some variability in other areas, but I would love to be in that particular situation in terms of being a landlord. Okay, so I wanted to throw that out there. It's an interesting observation to include in your I'm looking for an investment property toolbox. So keep that one in your back pocket and see if you don't end up finding yourself in a situation where you can acquire a 4-bedroom for close to, or if not the same price as a 3-bedroom, because it's going to offer you a broader set of potential renters, right? Those folks who are looking for that 4-bedroom, as soon as they put that search to 4 bedrooms, a gigantic chunk of the properties that are available are going to disappear from the map, and yours will be one of the few left. And also you can count on less competition in that area coming online from newer construction because it's constantly in decline, or has been for the last 5 years. All right, everyone, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we are going to cover those top 10 rental investment cities according to the folks at Realtor Magazine in cooperation with the folks from TurboTenant. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Are you ready to jump in and start your search for your first investment property? Maybe you've decided that it's time to own your own home, or maybe you're ready to sell your home and move on to something new. No matter what your goal is, the Rebel Broker can help. That's right, aside from hosting this show, I am also the owner broker of Whitelaw & Sons Real Estate Services right here in Silicon Valley. With over 25 years experience serving Silicon Valley, Morgan Hill, San Martin, and Gilroy, I or one of my great agents can help you achieve your goals in real estate. So if you're ready to look into taking that next step towards achieving your real estate goals, point your browser at www.soldbyrobert.com. That's www.soldbyrobert.com and get in touch. Let me show you how I will earn your business and your respect. Again, that's www.soldbyrobert.com, or you can call me at 408-852-0525. California Bureau of Real Estate ID 00984-909. Welcome back, everyone. We are carrying on with the theme today, which is really finding properties, right? We talked about the video that I released on YouTube this week to help walk you through the process I use all free tools. You don't need to reach out to anybody else. This is something you can do just from your desktop, a cup of coffee. You could do it completely nude. You could be in your house, privacy of your own home, sitting naked in front of your computer, hopefully with some tape over the camera lens, looking for property. Not going to suggest you do it, but if that's the way you roll, God bless. All right. So let's jump in. And one thing I like to do, we've mentioned this before, I'm a little bit of a geek, so maybe you don't need to do this as much as I do, but I always, whenever I see a survey like this or a bit of research like this, I always like to look at the methodology. And if I ever see data presented in a report with no discussion of the methodology, I'm much more dubious of its conclusions, right? Their methodology is with most listed right at the bottom for if anyone bothers to do their methodology at all. And this is what it says. In order to determine the best cities to invest in each state, we curated data from a number of reputable sources as well as using TurboTenant proprietary data. Our main city selections were taken from a study that evaluated and they link to the study, 4 main factors for each city: employment growth, population growth, increase in home values, and rental yield. All great numbers, good. We combine that with TurboTenant data on the average rent price, the number of rental leads per property, as well as the average number of days the rental stays on the market. So what I would want to know is, their data probably had a lot to do with this, and I'd love to know the depth of penetration of them into all these various markets. If there are markets where TurboTenant is ridiculously not present, well, then they're going to have a ridiculously small selection of data, right? So that's right off the bat, that's a concern for me. But let's go ahead and jump in. We're all about looking at what people have to say. So here we go. Now, number 1, should we go with number 1? Let's go with number 10 and roll it down, because that's just the way everybody does it, right? There's no reason to not conform to that one. Now, I'm going to go ahead and link to the actual report and not to the Realtor.com or Realtor whatever that is, the Realtor Magazine article, just because pathetic amount of data was provided there. And they provide a little bit more in-depth data here, and I think that's a good thing, and I want to give that to you. So I will have a link to this from TurboTenant, and they also give links to more full information. So, for instance, number 10 on the list is, let me see if this is, is Hyattsville, Maryland. And they actually have a full Maryland report link right there sitting below this data. So let's say you're not a fan of Hyattsville, Maryland. You live in Maryland, but it's too far away, whatever. Go to the report for your whole state, and then you can kind of get an idea of how other places rank. Now, the data highlights that they have here is Hyattsville has great numbers to report in all categories. Median sale price, $279,000. I think that's a great entry point. And I get there are people who are going to say otherwise, and that's fine. There's more coming on this list that are way below this entry point, so keep your seatbelt buckled. But that's a great place to start, I think, in terms of a barrier to entry, particularly in a market like mine where the barrier to entry is ridiculous, right? Where the average home price is $900,000 to $1 million. The average rent, $1,982. The number of leads, and I don't know what that actually means, but is 86. And the days on the market was 25. So it was rented in less than a month, which is nice. But I don't know if they're, in terms of days on market, I don't know if they're referring to the rental days on market or the for sale days on market. Probably would be good. Population growth for Hyattsville is 0%. Employment growth is 1.3%. Increase in home values is 0.4%. Median sales price as of August 2019 is $279,000. Average rent for a two-bedroom is $1,982. Average number of leads per property, 86. So maybe they're talking about when they talk about leads, maybe they're, I don't know. I don't know what they're talking about with that. Number of days on the market, 25. Okay. I actually don't care a whole lot about that. Next on our list, number 9, Rochester, New York. Data highlights, Buffalo is considered one of the most livable cities, and the data supports that. Landlords are getting 96 leads per property. So that's okay. So they're getting an average 96 people coming to look at the property, right? Since they specifically say landlords, my guess is now is that leads number is specifically about the number of people who come to rent the place. With an average of 16 days on the market, that's freaking awesome. That's 2 weeks. The median home price sits at, and you're going to love this number. This is a fantastic freaking number. 136K is the average, the median home price. That's great. Super low barrier to entry. Average rent is around $1,126. Population growth 1%, employment growth 1%, increase in home values 5.6%. And we already talked about the number of days on market. At 2 weeks, that is pretty impressive. That shows that there's clearly a robust rental situation going on there. Number 8, Newcastle, Delaware. Data highlights, Newcastle is a small town, but quite mighty when it comes to leads and days on the market. Landlords are getting an average of 98 leads per property and 1 day on the market on average. That's right, 1 day on the market on average. The median sale price is under $200K, and the average rent is very strong at nearly $2,000. So, you know that whole 1% rule that people talk about? That's, we're right there. So I don't know anything about Delaware. But I tell you what, numbers like that make me want to find out what the deal is with Delaware. I'd love to find out what sort of restrictions are put on landlords. What are tenants' rights? What are the landlords' rights? Get a little bit more info there. Heck, this might be the next city that we do a special deep dive on. Population growth, 4%. Employment growth, 2.4%. Increase in home values, 8%. Median sales price, well, that's weird. Hold on a second. Oh, right, under $200,000. $188,000 as of August of 2019. Average rent, $1,184 for a two-bedroom. All good numbers. Interesting that they give a different rental number in the description versus the tabled data. But anyway, still sexy enough to take a look at. Next on our list, Paterson, New Jersey comes in at number 7. Paterson is putting up some great numbers, 100 leads per property, a median sale price of $268,000, and a strong average rent of $1,614. 0% population growth, 0% population growth, 1% employment growth, increase in home values. And this is nuts, 11.9%. So when I see a number that high, I would want to see the historical data on home values in this city. If we are at some bizarre statistical blip thing, I'd want to know why, right? If you can figure out why, and it's a good why, that's fine. You never like to buy at the top of a market, though, right? So if we're at one of those situations where the only place this community can really go from here is down, you might want to think twice about it. Unless you're going to get a ridiculous return on investment in terms of monthly rental, right? If you're going to get a great ROA, you're going to have a great return on investment per month. That's a big swaying number, right? Okay, next on our list, number 6, Cincinnati, Ohio. Strength and unity, and strength in numbers for Cincinnati. Apparently, Cincinnati's motto is strength and unity. It's pulling in 100 leads per property with about 2 weeks on the market. Median sales price is very affordable, $163,000, with strong rents reported at $1,048. Population growth 1%, employment growth 1.5. That I love to see that. I love to see employment growing faster than growth in population, just because that usually means everybody's going to be getting a job, right? Increase in home values 3.1%. Median sale price $163K as of October of 2019. Average rent $1,048 for a 2-bedroom. And again, about just under 2 weeks on the market to get this sucker rented, so 13 days. Number 5, Nashua, New Hampshire. Nashua is full of investment potential as our number 5 town. It's putting out some serious lead numbers, 105 on average per property. So that indicates a lot of demand, right? So this is a market that has a lot of demand for rental properties. That's really good news. And an average of 8 days on the market. Home values are on the rise, but still an affordable range at $283,000. Population growth is 0.6%. Employment growth 1.8%. Increase in home values 4.5%. Median sales price, again, $283,000. So that's really good news. Number 4, East Orange, New Jersey. Now, I have a built-in bias. I'm not going to lie. I have a built-in bias for New Jersey and Massachusetts. New Jersey, because you are beaten with the tax stick mercilessly in New Jersey. If you'll remember, we've in the past reported on New Jersey being the number 1 state people are leaving. And one of the big reasons is taxation and property taxes and all that wonderful stuff. Someone from New Jersey wants to set me straight that things have changed. I mean, I think the last time we had this conversation about New Jersey was maybe a year ago. So if things are suddenly amazingly different, I'd love to hear that. But it was a year ago, really, that I think New Jersey dropped from number 1 in 2018 to number 2 in 2019 under stress from other huge states that have got a lot of people moving out, like California and New York. Number 4 town has some juicy numbers, 116 leads per property. Man, that's hard to argue with, man. I mean, talk about really low vacancy rates with that much demand. 15 days on the market, 10% year over year home value increases. That's pretty phenomenal. So population growth was 0%, employment growth 1%, increase in home values 10%. Median sale price $273K as of August of 2019. Average rent $1,534. Average number of leads per property, 116, and number of days, 15. So those are compelling numbers. Number 3 on the list is Allentown, Pennsylvania. Interesting to see where Allentown is. I don't recall Allentown being on any of our lists prior to this. The only reason I remember Allentown is because of a Billy Joel song. And I seem to remember it being like a steel town, and his song was all about nobody works there anymore kind of a thing. So someone from Allentown, Pennsylvania may need to give me an update on what's going on in Allentown. According to this, Allentown gets an A in all categories, leads 119. Wow. So that gives you a really solid number on the amount of demand for property. Days on the market is 9, so just over a week. Median sales price, $145. So a ridiculously low barrier to entry. Well, 145. In my world, that's ridiculously low. Average rent, $1,063. Population growth, 1%. Employment growth, 1%. Increase in home values, 19%. That's insane. Again, I'd want to understand that spike. That is crazy. Again, median sales price, 145, average rent, 1063. So that's pretty sexy. I got to admit, might have to make that one an interesting place to take a look at. Next, number 2, District Heights, Maryland. See, for me, these places are all so far away. I mean, granted, it's funny for me to claim that bothers me when My vacation rental is not only 3,000 miles away, but also a plane ride since I can't swim to where it is. This DC suburb is small, but not when it comes to leads. Landlords are averaging 126 per property in just 19 days on the market. Population growth 0%. Employment growth 1.3, increase in home values 0.4. So that's interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing the data on that to see where that 1.4 is. Is that a really big? In other words, have we been seeing 8, 9, 10%, and then suddenly the amount of growth was just that? That'd be interesting to see historically. Median sales price $252K as of August of 2019. Average rent $1,408, and we already know the leads and the days on market. Number one, here we go. Reading, Pennsylvania. God, so far away from where I live. Our number one town has seen positive growth across the board. The number of leads per property is the highest out of all of our towns at 271. Freak, 271. That is huge demand for property. With an average of 8 days in the market, home values are on the rise with an 11.1% increase year over year, with the median sale price reported at $140K. Population growth 0.4, employment growth 1.2, increase in home values 11.1, median sales price $140K. Average rent is a little low at $957 for a 2-bed. But I gotta think that you're going to see if you were in the 3-bedroom rank, you'd see some pretty robust interest if you're seeing 271 folks on average coming in as leads. I think the reason why they're reporting leads is that TurboTenant is intended to be a lead tracking generating service. I'll be honest, this was the first time I heard of TurboTenant. I'm probably going to create myself an account and take a look and see how they are. But in any event, I think this gives us some cool things to look at. So why don't we do this? Because of its low barrier to entry, because of what appears to be the demand, I want all of you to go out and spend 30 minutes after you watch the video on how to find a property. I want you to go do this for Reading, Pennsylvania, using whatever criteria you feel is important, or maybe using the criteria that I used in mine, whatever you're comfortable with. And let's compare notes. You guys go ahead and do it. I'll spend some time looking into Reading, Pennsylvania, and we'll all build skills together, and then we could potentially, if you want to comment on the video, or you want to comment on this podcast, or go to therebelbroker.com and send me a message, or you want to go to soldbyrobert.com and send me a message there. Just updated that website, by the way, so it's looking, it's got newer tech at the very least. Feel free to get in touch, and we can chat about your pick, why you picked it, maybe even discuss some listener picks here on the show. I'd love to do that. I'd love to bring you into the show. And also keep in mind that the link I'm going to share with you for this TurboTenant research has reports for each state. So let's say you're not interested in going that far. You want to stay west of the Mississippi, like what I'd kind of like to do. There were also some great things in Idaho. So Idaho's another favorite of mine. I'm a Boise fan. I'm also a fan of Phoenix. So maybe I'll take a look at their data on that and see where that stuff is. All right, folks. I hope that this has been good information for you, and we're getting you to a good start here in January of 2020. The goal is always to leave more knowledge on the table than you've invested in time. Hope we have achieved that today. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you all next time.